Bluff City Media presents the 2 Buck Sports Show with your hosts, Rusty Buckets and Uncle Buck. Now, let's get to the show.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Friday edition of the 2 Buck Sports Show. I'm your guy, Uncle Buck here. It's Friday. Rusty's still in Boston, I believe. And so I got good buddy, new friend, Gabe Kuhn joining me. What's up, brother?
Unc, what's happening, man? You doing well?
Man, yeah, another day, another dollar. You know, it's Friday, which is by far the best day of the work week.
Oh, of course.
It's not.
Absolutely.
I don't even think that would really be up for debate. But I'm glad you're here with me.
Yeah, we lock in those college football bets for the weekend. I have the Tulane-Memphis game to go to. How about that tonight?
That is tonight, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Ready to go. Tigers 3.5 point. It'll be a late night. Right? 8 p.m., but Tigers 3.5 point favorites. Keep those college football playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, so we are definitely going to get to that, and I would like to end the show with, if I'm being honest with you, that's the most
all right.
We're going to do a little bit of NBA stuff. The Grizzlies play a home game tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. We're going to touch on that. I just kind of want to get your overall thoughts on the Grizz so far, and then we're going to spend the majority of the show on college football, including a story in which I sent to you last night saying we're talking about this on the show, but I got sentled. And I want to give you the reason why it was believable to me. And so we'll talk about that in our second segment, our college football segment. But first, it's Friday. It's game day. We are going to talk just a little Memphis Grizzlies. If I can find the button. There we go. That's right. So we are going to talk the Memphis Grizzlies today. If you know one thing on this show, you get what you pay for. And when Rusty's not here and you're asking me to push the buttons, it gets weird.
You're not a producer extraordinaire.
I don't have the foresight. I think I like hearing myself talk. I like getting into the moment here, and when I don't think I can serve both masters, being totally present in the moment while also looking for the button that I'm going to need in just a few minutes. So
it takes skill, brother. It takes skill. I hear you.
It does. Rusty's gone for a week, so I'll have about 5 shows to do where I am driving the ship. So maybe by next Wednesday I'll have it figured out, but then at that point I'll just turn it back over to Rusty.
Yeah, what's he doing in Boston, by the way?
So it's his girl's birthday.
Okay.
And so I guess when you are, both doctors and have no kids, you can take birthday trips to the Northeast to colonial sites. And
yes.
So they're in Boston for a few days, and I think they're going up to New York City. He was pretty bummed about part of it because they booked this before the NBA schedule released, and so I think they built this whole trip around there's a Harry Potter play going on Broadway that's opening up next week. And so they got opening night at this Broadway theater to watch Harry Potter. And then the NBA schedule releases, and just up the road, the Memphis Grizzlies will play in the Madison Square Garden that same night. And so he's like, what do I do? And I was like, I would see night 2 of Harry Potter.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, stick with Harry Potter.
Yeah. So quit being a nerd and go watch the Grizzlies play Madison Square Garden. When will you ever have this opportunity again? But he held strong. I guess he's a better man than me.
Yeah, I hear you.
So the Grizzlies play tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. The Grizzlies, I'll put this up on the screen here and try to shift us over a little bit. If I can figure out how. I don't know. We'll see. Nope, not that one. We'll just go back.
You got it, brother.
This is ridiculous.
Maybe I can help out. There we go. I can help out on my end.
Look at there.
There we go. Look at me.
I had it all built, and then I didn't download the graphic with the transparent background, and so it's just a white screen over us. So the Memphis Grizzlies, 4.5 point favorite tonight against Dallas. The selling point, I guess, because it's not the freaking Grizzlies, Did you get to see Cooper Flag? Memphis Grizzlies 4.5-point favorites so far into this season. Give me your rundown. What's your thesis so far?
Just lack of effort, lack of intensity. Don't like the way this team's being coached. I mean, listen, I try to remain positive about things. You're 9 games into the season. You have 70 more out there to go potentially win. But this team, there's just so much wrong right now. I think there is trust or a mistrust right now from the stars. Jalen Wells, KCP aren't playing well. The other night, it kind of weirdly enough reminded me of the 27-win season a couple years ago, just because I remember that season and having to try to talk about the Grizzlies every day on my show. And you had to get a little bit off the beaten path to try to find positives. And the positives the other night were Cam Spencer and Vince Williams Jr. And if I watch a game and those are your 2 best players and those are the players that are giving you, good results, I can tell you pretty affirmatively that's not a good sign for where the Grizzlies are headed. Like, it's nice to see that those guys played well, but Ja and Jaren were on the floor. And when they play as poorly as they did, it's frustrating. And Tomas Isolo, I mean, I guess I'll give just sort of a short take, and I'm sure we'll elaborate on it. Mm-hmm. But watching him consistently play his rotations and try to reinvent the way that we do substitutions in the National Basketball Association, it's getting frustrating already. He likes those 3 to 4 minute spurts. It looks like Santi and Cedric Howard get up off the bench ready to go in the game at about 9 minutes left in the first quarter.
Yeah. They might as well not even put their sweats on.
And I would completely understand this, and I shouldn't say completely, because I still think you need to play your stars 34, 35, 36 minutes. But I would understand this rotation pattern more, the substitution pattern more, if they had Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr. and Zach Edey and Brandon Clark. But when you have Omax Prosper in a 10-day contract with Charles Bassey, and you have God love him, but Cam Spencer, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to continue to sub this way. So I've been frustrated with the Grizzlies. Doesn't mean that they're not gonna, ever get it back going, but I have my doubts at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think anybody out here is 100% convinced, except for that one Michelangelo commenter that jumps in the post game to just defend Tomas Isolo to the nth degree, and he has admittedly said that, yeah, he's European and he's watching because he loves Tomas Isolo. And to each their own. Listen, to go back from the start here, you made the comment, like, when you're happy about Cam Spencer and Charles Bassey, then you're probably losing games. I 100% agree, and I do see the correlation with a 27-win season. I see a correlation last year, because last year everybody wanted to gripe on Taylor Jenkins and was saying, like, Zach Edey's the answer. And I was like, listen, if we're talking about Zach Edey being the difference maker, then John Jaren aren't pulling their weight. And that was kind of my thesis for last year's season. Like, if Zach Edey should not be as a rookie, maybe he grows to that. Maybe second year Edey, third year Edey. Like, I'm not closing the door on that. But rookie Edey should not be the decision maker here into a successful coach and a unsuccessful coach, or a successful season and unsuccessful season. And when you leave that, I guess the last game, you leave that game and you're talking about Cam Spencer. Cam was great, but does that translate to winning? I mean, you would hope not, but you got to play the guys you got. And I don't know, I guess where I'm at here, and I kind of went on about this and just kind of open-ended, word vomit yesterday of talking like I don't know who to blame yet, because Jalen and KCP suck. They've been so bad. They're historically good players. Jalen had he was first-team all-rookie last year. There's no reason why this guy's forgotten how to suck. Same with KCP. And you don't have Edey, you don't have Ty Jerome, you don't have Brandon Clark. So I get all of this, and so I'm hoping that we just figured out, and you alluded to that, like the rotations fix themselves because you've got more good players to play. It is a players game, and if you have more good players to play, however, to start this, it feels like a lack of ability to adapt. And I know you don't want to adapt in the first 9 games of the season, but it's adapt or die in this league. And if you can't adapt off before you can even implement, then you're sticking to your guns too long.
Yeah, he also, like, I think we compound the problem by sort of looking at the defensive side of the ball. Can't really guard the 3-point line. No good at guarding the rim, quite frankly. We saw that against the Rockets.
You don't have the dogs to defend the rim.
You don't rebound very well right now.
Right.
And then on the offensive end, I don't know about you. I'm watching them play, and when Ja Morant's out there, you sort of spam high pick and roll, do some on-ball screens, do things like that. But they're not really running anything of substance. They're not really running anything. Like last year, I know people had problems with the offense and who it was highlighting. It just didn't highlight Ja Morant. Other than Noah LaRoche. Now he's in Miami, with the Heat. And somehow they're involved in like they've convinced themselves that Ja Morant with the Heat would make sense, even though he hated the Noah LaRoche offense.
True.
But like last year, you looked at the numbers and you looked at what they were running, and it wasn't highlighting Ja, but Jaren Jackson Jr. had a career year. Santi Aldama had a career year offensively. So you look up and you look at this offense and you're like, what is it doing well for anybody? I mean, Jaren Jackson Jr. had 1 shot in the first half and 6 shots overall the other night. And Tomas Isola was asked about it by Drew Hill after the game. And he referenced how Jaren Jackson Jr.'s true shooting percentage is the highest it's ever been in his career. And I thought in the back of my head, I go, that is like the last thing I want to hear. My eyes work. I've seen Jaren play good basketball. He's not playing good basketball, especially offensively right now, because you're not getting him in the right spots. He's a good ISO player. You haven't given him those opportunities. So I said this on the air yesterday, and I hate to be doom and gloom, right? But like this team doesn't have a redeeming quality right now because
I agree.
Offensively, you're not running anything offensively, and your 2 superstars are playing like a shell of themselves because they don't like the way the coach is treating this season. So something has to change fast, but the problem is with things like this, with problems like this, they rarely change fast.
Yeah, I can hear an argument if you want to be positive that you can't have these Ja Morant be good and Jaren Jackson be great, great if you don't have any spacing, and the fact that KCP and Jalen Wells aren't making open threes has stagnated the whole offense. And if you want to be Pollyanna and you want to see the best, then you think, well, okay, progression to the mean will mean that Jalen and KCP start hitting shots. It opens up the lane, and there you go. John and Jaren now have ability to work. But in my opinion, you cannot be so solely dependent on the 3-point shot in Jalen and KCP that you have no counter if they don't have it that night. You've got to be able to do something. And it's a roster development problem. It's an injuries problem because arguably the best 3-point shooter we got's hurt in Ty Jerome. And there's no B plan. There's no plan B here. If Ja Morant is not allowed, and that's what we've got here, Ja Morant is not being allowed to get into the paint because nobody is respecting the 3-point shot on the wings, then you've got to have something to go to. And I said on the show yesterday, I think Ty Jerome getting healthy is more important than Zach Edey or Brandon Clark getting healthy right now because he's the only one of those that can add any shooting to this team at all.
Yeah, and also when Ja Morant's off the floor and I'm watching Cam Spencer try to set up offense, I have no confidence. And I love how Cam has played so far this year, but he's being forced to do things. Yeah. He's being forced to do things with that second unit that are just not in his bag right now. He should be a sniper, spot-up shooter. Every once in a while he can create off the dribble, but he shouldn't be a guy who has to sort of set up offense and get his teammates involved certain times down the floor in certain stretches of basketball. So I do believe Ty Jerome will help pretty drastically. But I think what needs to change in the interim even with what they have, is, and listen, former athlete, I don't sit here. I rarely, if ever, call out effort and intensity and want to, because I know how hard this thing is. I know what it's like to go through a full off season and then have a loss, and all the things that you plan for going into the the entire off season seem to be off the table, and you're frustrated, and like, I know what it's like. But John, Jaren, I can understand their frustration with the way things are right now, with the minutes distribution, with the substitution patterns, but I don't think there's any excuse for how they've played. There's just a lack of heart. There's a lack of want to. There just seems to be a lack of intensity. And we were questioning whether Ja was the only one frustrated with it. I think it's very clear that Jaren is frustrated as well. So, like, I do think those two need to take it upon themselves to be professionals, because it's going to start and end with them. If they don't play hard, if they don't play with intensity, this team's going to lose.
Yeah, and as they should. And I've griped about this a lot, and I know that there's 1,000 ways you can go in this, and there's 1,000 ways to blame, and how do you split hairs here of being forced to or being asked to give your hardest when you don't feel like your boss, in this instance your coach, has your best interest at heart. I can sympathize with that. I do.
Yeah.
But where I land with it is I try to always be pro-consumer on this, and this is an entertainment league.
Yeah.
There are Memphians, and like, I'm taking two of my kids to the game Sunday against the Thunder. I'm paying money from my discretional income I could use for anything else. You go buy shirts, you go buy merch, you go buy food, you pay for parking and gas, and some people lodging to get there. Like, buddy, I just really can't figure out a way to absolve somebody from not giving it your hardest when you're on that court. I can't.
Yeah, and that's the disheartening thing is, I don't want to see it anytime. Let's be clear. I don't want to see a lack of effort from my stars anytime, because it leads you to lose ball games. And we don't like losing. Losing sucks. It's the worst.
Yes.
But the fact that these last couple of games, they've given that effort at home in front of the home crowd, that's worse to me. Like, to me, that's a cardinal sin. You cannot do that. These people are there to support you. These people are there to bring you along, and you're not allowing them to do that, and you're not showing them sort of the type of star you are if you're John Morant or if you're Jaren Jackson Jr. You're just not really giving them a reason to come back to that arena if you do that. They went once, they see that effort, they see you lose by what was it the other night? 15?
15, yeah.
Let go of the rope at the end. You guys both. Jaren took 6 shots. Ja was 6 for 17. 1 for 7 from 3 again. Just didn't seem to be locked in. You don't give them a reason to buy tickets, use their income again, and come back to the game. And I think this is such an important juncture for the Memphis Grizzlies. You don't have a long-term lease signed. You have $2 tickets. You've been lowest in attendance for the last 2 years. You know what I mean? You have to give more effort, and you have to win ball games at this point. You have to give fans a reason to come back. And then on top of that, obviously, we've had all the the crime discussions and everything downtown, but that's to the side right this second. I just think this team needs to play well. People will show up, but you have to give them a reason to come back.
Yeah, if there's one thing that hurts the long-term future of the Grizzlies, it is declining ticket sales. I think that you're seeing this in college football, you're seeing it in pro football, you're seeing it across all boards, is that people are more and more likely to stay at home and watch the game and put stuff on the grill, especially in college sports where just the cost is going absolutely through the roof with parking and donations to foundations to get tickets, and the secondary market is not friendly. And like, you have so much more competition now than ever, and the competition is staying at home and watching it in your home. So with the money that I'm going to end up spending going to this game and taking my 2 daughters on a Sunday afternoon, I could buy me a really nice TV. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so that is your competition. There is no listen, if the Grizzlies move out of Memphis, I'm not making any promises to anybody what my long-term promises are going to be to the organization. Like if they take this team out of Memphis, and I won't feel alone, they move them to say Seattle, I don't know that my fandom follows. You know?
Oh, brother, I'm
I
a former St. Louis Rams fan. Okay,
yeah,
I can tell you pretty positively, I'm not an LA Rams fan.
Like I just don't know that I can do that. I love these guys, and so you've got to be able to make it worth your time, and more importantly, money to travel to Beale Street and watch a basketball game. And the Memphis Grizzly fans do that extremely well when the team cares.
When you give them a reason. I mean, it's not that – it's any fan.
If you put up a fight, that was the grit and grind mantra for so long. It's like, you don't have to win, but we've got to be proud of the effort that you're putting on this court. And that is something that has not been able to even scratch the surface to just meet the bare minimum since the 23 season, I guess. In 24, you had the Jaws injury, suspension, and then subsequent injury, and everything went to the dumpster.
That was 23. 22, really, is the year that I think we're looking at. Of
22.
What was that, 52 wins, second in the West?
Yeah.
And then bow out early, of course. But, that's...
And then you had last year. That's right. And then you had last year, which was just – I didn't think last year could be worse from talking about than the previous year with the suspension and injury of Ja.
Yeah.
And then last year was so much worse to have to deal with. And then I feel like this year's the trajectory is going to be even worse somehow. And I don't know how you get through how I or you, somebody who has to talk about this 5 days a week, will get through it. Rusty and I just fell into yelling at each other every single day last season over something, because just the root of this is just misery. Yes. And so I'm not asking for wins. I have stayed on this island and defended Taylor Jenkins. I've stayed on this island and will probably end up to some extent defending Tomas Isolo. If Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. play their hardest and together, this team should win.
Yes.
It should win.
Especially tonight at home.
I don't even care about Zach Edey. I don't care about who you put with them.
Right.
They should, given minimal support, win more games than they lose. But you've got to try.
Yes. And tonight, they should be able to handle business against a 2-6 Mavs team who doesn't have a point guard, who looks lost, who looks uncomfortable. And Cooper Flagg's not playing all that well. He's had some moments, but, he just hasn't been that great. And, I just want to see effort from those guys. And I hate how this conversation turns into lease and attendance and ticket prices and all that. But, that's at the front of my mind right now. It's an important juncture in this franchise's, history, especially when it comes to staying in Memphis or potentially moving on eventually. And I gotta see something better.
As a local who does Memphis radio and is well more versed in this, we don't talk about this a lot just because I've never lived in Memphis, currently don't live in Memphis. Rusty is coming just 2 years back into the city of Memphis. We just don't talk about this a lot. How critical do you think the season is and results are to the lease versus this just being this political posturing for, negotiating stance?
I think everything's very important. And listen, I'm kind of a natural cynic when it comes to things like this, just because I watched, and this is not, I will say this, what's happening with Memphis and the Grizzlies and the mayor and the negotiation, it's not the same as what happened with the St. Louis Rams in St. Louis.
Okay.
Right? That was a complete bad faith negotiation. They were never going to stay in St. Louis. They kept changing the goalpost, and the city of St. Louis kept trying to meet the needs of the Rams, and they still didn't want to be here. So I don't think that the Grizzlies
go to Los Angeles.
I don't think the Grizzlies organization is any hurry or wants to be out of Memphis. They just want assurances that you're going to get people in the seats. The ticket counter, turnstile counter number is going to be better. that Beale Street's going to have more entertainment and safety. They want those types of things. But like when we're talking about turnstile counter and ticket prices and the ability to make money as an organization, I think that every season is important going forward, especially this one, because you have a delayed signing of the lease and everything else. So I just think you have to show proof that people are still going to latch onto this product and people are still going to show up to FedEx Forum on, I don't know, a random Tuesday night to watch them play the Hornets. You just need better results in that realm.
And it's just bad timing too, because the league, the expansion talk is at its apex. Like I do believe,
and it always centers around the Grizzlies and the Pelicans. Right. Let's not make any ifs, ands, or buts about that. Whenever we hear discussions like this, and we talk about relocation and not expansion, it's always Pelicans, Grizzlies. What's this going to work out like? And I do think the Pelicans have a bit of a natural advantage. Not that they're a better team. Absolutely not. 14 to 24 years, the Grizzlies have been here. They've made the playoffs. Right. Whereas the Pelicans, basketball's never worked in New Orleans. Well, but the Pelicans are owned by a New Orleans family. A family that likes New Orleans. Whereas the Grizzlies, Grizzlies owned by Robert Pera.
Right.
Ain't the same thing. I can tell you right now.
I do think if you ask me one thing that would make me feel more confident is if Robert Pera did show up every once in a while.
Yeah.
And he is kind of a shadow owner. Maybe that's just his style. I don't know how many irons he's got in the fire. But he has said the right things when asked, but he doesn't exactly make his home here.
He doesn't really allow himself to be asked that often. You know,
it doesn't happen very often. I also think that the NBA would be more inclined to add more teams before relocating one. I think if you ask Adam Silver, hey, would you rather Memphis and New Orleans go to Vegas and Seattle, or would you rather keep them and add a 31st and 32nd team? I think that would be more likely. I think he would prefer that. Now, if you want to add those 31st and 32nd teams and then move Memphis to Mexico City, that may be a different one, if he could have his cake and eat it too. But, again, I think you shut this thing up. I think everything shuts up. The Ja Morant stuff, the Tomas stuff, the lease, any question that is currently being talked about negatively about the Memphis Grizzlies right now changes if you just give 100% effort and you go win a few basketball games.
Way to bring it back full circle. Agree wholeheartedly. Every utterance.
Well, hey, I think that's a good period on the segment then. So we're going to take a quick break right here. When we come back, we're going to do our bread and butter. We're going to talk college football. The week is not too great, but it is still the same amount of importance because as you get into the short rows here, everything, trust me, I will watch that Ole Miss versus the Citadel game tomorrow afternoon and be like, I hope we don't lose this one because everything's on the line for everybody. So stay tuned with us.
In the heart of the Highland Strip for 27 years, Trilogy Tattoo has helped tell stories for Memphians for generations. Located at 530 South Highland, Richie and his team are waiting to help you tell yours.
From tattoos to piercings, your body art should be as unique as you are. Voted a Memphis Flyer top 3 tattoo shop in the city of Memphis since day one. Your story will be safe here at Trilogy Tattoo.
Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 11 to 11, and 3 to 11 on Sundays. They have convenient times waiting on you. Let Trilogy Tattoo help you tell your story.
I'm hoping all this John Summerall talk is starting to get to Tulane. It certainly looked like it did last week against UTSA. John Summerall talk, it ain't stopping anytime soon because we have 4 SEC jobs open and he's near the top of odds for all of them. Now, here is where my concern does come in. They are coming off that loss
Yes.
And they have to keep their season alive and
This
cooking.
is
They're used to being in the American Conference Championship game. That's still attainable if they beat Memphis.
This is quite literally a loser goes home match on Friday. Friday night, 8 o'clock on ESPN. Memphis fans should absolutely pack the Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium out. This game means everything to both.
Yep.
If Memphis loses, it's over. If Tulane loses, it's over. This is massive.
Tune in to On the Bluff with Christian Fowler and Gabe Kuhn every Tuesday at 10 a.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
It's weird time. It's a weird time right now. I don't even know what to ask you other than, so yeah, what do you think?
So much of how this team and so much is expected of him because of the talent that he is and what he's been able to do and the effect that he has on everyone that plays, but not just the people that play, but the people that watch, the people that cover him, the people that talk about it. Like it is a gift to be able to affect people in that way. They got to figure out what will make people be more joyful about playing the game, or what can be done both ways. Like, it's not just what can be done for one person. Like, what can we do collectively to make this better, or can we not make it better? And then if not, then I just got to go do my job. You're gonna do your job, and you move forward from there.
Yeah.
Tune in to the Night Court Podcast with your hosts, Rob Fisher and Brevin Knight, on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
Welcome back to the $2 Sports Show Friday edition of the show. I got my guy Gabe Kuhn here to my right, and we're going to hang out for a little bit longer and talk some college football. And it's a big weekend. We're going to get to some lines later. We're going to talk about all the different spreads on the left-hand side of the screen here. But first, I got to tell you and confess to everybody that I got sentled last night. A report came out that one Silverfield was taking the job at Arkansas. And, of course, that's an insane thing to get duped by. But I'm going to defend myself for a minute, and I'm going to frame it in a question for you. Okay, so you know that this coaching cycle has gone absolutely wild.
Yep.
Arkansas is the current fourth best job open in the SEC because since they fired Sam Pittman, Florida and LSU have fired their coaches. And there's one more, right?
Auburn
have fired their coaches. That's right. How did I forget Hugh Freeze getting fired? And so they've now found themselves fell from first best job in the SEC to the fourth best job in the SEC. Ryan Silverfield is a G5 coach of the American. And if you can go get your guy and the money is right, I can see a situation, and maybe this is something to look forward to in the future, to where coaches actually leave earlier because they have a bird in the hand. So is this something in the future that you could see happening?
Oh, absolutely. He is the favorite right now. If you look at implied odds and, things like that, percentage-wise, to be the next head coach at Arkansas. It just didn't happen yesterday. That's right. The difference, right? But this could absolutely happen. And I listen, he's my former coach. He joins my show every week. He doesn't really show his hand even to me. Right. So I don't know what his thoughts are there. I will say this, though. It's different than it has been in the past. And I'm not trying to be offensive to Hog fans, but it's just the truth of the matter. When it comes to the money, yeah, Arkansas has more in NIL and revenue share, but when you compare it to their peers, it just doesn't – it pales in comparison to what Memphis has compared to their peers. Also, I would ask this – I want to ask you this question, and I want an answer from you, although maybe you have to think about it. Who has better access right this second to the college football playoff? A school like Memphis or a school like Arkansas, considering they're in the SEC, Memphis is in the American, and you're comparing Memphis against the rest of the group of five as opposed to Arkansas, the rest of the SEC, and the rest of the Power Four structure. So, like,
There's
I would
no
ask
doubt.
you that question. What,
Yeah,
like, if
there's
you're
no
Ryan
doubt in my
Silverfield and
mind.
you look at that,
Yeah.
is it Memphis or Arkansas?
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. It's Arkansas. I mean,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
still?
No.
Oh,
I'm
Memphis?
sorry. It's Memphis. It's Memphis. I got
Right.
crossed up. But there's no doubt in my mind it's Memphis if you're just looking at playoff odds. You know, the winning out in the American, I think you're looking at 3 schools at most every year that you've got to beat. They're typically all in your conference. And
Right.
so even if you lose to one, you get chance at retribution in the conference championship game, and you know that you're going to get in. I mean, look at the college football playoff top 25 that just debuted this week. Memphis, there was not an American team in the top 25, but Memphis is in.
Yeah.
Memphis is in right now. And I think if that's your goal, and if you ask Lane Kiffin, his goal is to what puts me in the best position to win a championship, and you've got to say that it's Memphis. Now, are you looking at the best chance to get into the playoffs or win the playoffs? And I think that's maybe the difference. If you want to get in and you've got a lucrative bonus structure for appearances, that's one thing. Arkansas peaked out, could win a championship potentially. Memphis peaked out, maybe not. I'm just saying like an SEC.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
SEC
saying.
school,
Right.
getting
It's a talent thing. It's just a money thing. What type of people are you bringing to campus? I get all that.
I made the argument 3 years ago that Hugh Freeze would be an absolute idiot to take the Auburn job. Just stay at Liberty, dominate the G5,
sure,
and you'll be in every year. I mean, Liberty is Memphis with exponentially more money if they want to divert it that way. You know?
Yeah. I just look at the situation, and it's about Ryan and what he holds dear. Just like Lane Kiffin with Florida.
Right.
What do you hold dear?
Right.
But for Ryan, if you want more money and you want a chance to coach in the premier conference in America, you take the Arkansas job. If you want to make the college football playoff on a consistent basis, have a better opportunity. If you want to rack up wins, you want to be, a statuesque coach.
Right.
Then you stay at Memphis. And you know what? I will say this. It would be nice for a change to not have Memphis as a stepping stone job as it has been in the past.
Yeah, I feel that.
I had 2 coaches, leave.
Yeah.
Fuente originally,
Fuente?
And then I was there for the switch over to Norvell. Then I played through 2017. Norvell leaves in 2019 after the Cotton Bowl for Florida State. And also, I was thinking about this yesterday. If you're Ryan Silverfield, I'm not saying you compare yourself 1-to-1 to Fuente in Norvell, because I think he's a different coach. Has a different style. It's more of a CEO style head coach than the offensive mind that Mike Norvell and Fuente were.
Right.
But if I'm Silverfield, I look at how it ended up for both those guys. They went to premier jobs at that time. Virginia Tech, which was premier after Frank Beamer left, and then Florida State trying to get back going. It didn't end well for Fuente, and it's not seemingly going to end well for Mike Norvell either. So, the whole grass isn't always greener. Pay attention to that. Take that into consideration before you make your decision. But I said this on the radio yesterday. I think even if Ryan leaves, there are plenty of guys out in the country that would be willing to take on this job and would be jumping at the opportunity. A Will Stein from Oregon, if he doesn't get a bigger job, the OC at Oregon, he could potentially be on that list. And Eric Morris at North Texas, if he doesn't get a bigger job, look at him, as a potential Memphis coach. There's a guy named Holman Wiggins, who's a passing game coordinator at A&M, and he used to be the right-hand man, wide receiver coach for Nick Saban at Alabama. He's a guy who was at Memphis when I was there with Fuente as a wide receivers coach. He could be a guy that's on your list. So I think there's no shortage of candidates if Ryan leaves, but I would rather have Ryan stay, the continuity, the understanding of what to expect. That'd be nice if Memphis is able to retain that.
Absolutely. I think the one thing that would make me a little bit more nervous with Ryan than I am with Lane is I do think that there's this little bit of a itch to get to the top and to try things you haven't done before. Like you hear about, it just comes like the amenities and stuff like that. Lane is at the SEC. He's done the NFL thing. To me, the biggest threat, if you tell me just rank threats, if the Miami Dolphins called Lane Kiffin, I don't think he would think about it. I think he'd be the Miami Dolphins head coach to to try to get redemption at his failed attempt under Al Davis with the Raiders when he was hired at like 30 years old to be the head coach. With Ryan, I wonder if there is something with somebody who has been a tight ends coach turned head coach at the G5 level. If there is just a try to get to the quote unquote P4 and
I think most people would look at the Arkansas job and be like, why would you take that right now? They're bottom half in NIL and revenue share money. They pour a lot more into baseball and basketball at the moment. You have an indifference there. You're in the SEC, and Arkansas historically, at least the last 10 years has not been overly competitive in the SEC. So you'd look at all those things and you would see, what's Ryan thinking about that? But I always tell people, there is an inherent arrogance to being a college football coach.
Yes.
None of these guys think of it as, oh, I'm going to go to Arkansas and struggle. They think they're going to go to Arkansas, turn over the roster, and they're going to be the next statue outside of that stadium. That's the level of arrogance that we're talking about. And it's not a bad thing because I think you have to have that arrogance as a college football coach.
Yes.
But, when people bring that up to me, I tell them the same thing every time. There's just these guys don't think that way. They think that they're the next coming. They think that they are reinventing football. They think that they're great at their job. So
I think that is 100% correct. And when I make the argument, like Florida is a Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer away from South Carolina historically, like that's not fair. But those are generational coaches, and you can, I think that Florida has a lot of issues. They can't seem to make the same hire. They went all in on a high school quarterback, paid him a bunch of money. He showed up and didn't get paid. That shows a disconnect between the collective and the boosters and being able to get this money straight. I think the most important thing that you can do as an institution that has a college football program is be in alignment with your collective, with your athletic director, make sure everybody's pulling in the same direction. And I think that's what Ole Miss does. Ole Miss and Missouri are the two SEC schools that figured that out and was able to rise because of NIL. And Florida hasn't been able to do that. But Lane Kiffin looked at that and be like, Florida is a Lane Kiffin away from being Steve Spurrier, I can totally see that. I think that if Ole Miss opens up and if Memphis opens up, this is my train of thought when it comes to hiring a football coach. Ole Miss has proven that they are in alignment with their NIL arm. With now you've got rev share that is being worked out. They're going to be on the forefront of that if reports are to be believed. The athletic director and president have a great relationship. The fundraising's there. You are able to get players because it is not a recruiting thing anymore. It's not like, oh, you're going to go hire a good recruiter and let the position coaches figure it out. I believe that if you're Ole Miss now and if Memphis opens up, you go and you hire the best dang X's and O's football coach you can get and trust that your AD and your GM will get you the right players. I think that's what Indiana's doing right now. They just went and hired the best dang X's and O's football coach you can get.
How about Mike Elko at A&M?
Yes.
Like, in the end of the day, like I think these splash hires we're finding out more often than not are failing. Brian Kelly was a splash hire. Let's not fake it. Hugh Freeze, to a certain extent, was a bit of a splash hire for Auburn.
It was.
Like, I think that people need to take into consideration
twice, and that's all Auburn needed to know.
And here's the thing: Cignetti, I think, is a good point, and it's worth bringing up. But I don't think you can just like fully recreate Kurt Cignetti and what he's doing in Indiana. But like, a John Sumrall is out there. He's a good football coach. Ryan Silverfield's a good football coach. But in my opinion, just go find a good ball coach. Right? Yeah. There's a million examples. Brent Key at Georgia Tech right now. Clark Lee at Vandy. You don't have to be splashy. You don't have to break the bank. Go through a full search, interview all these guys, see what their style is, see if you like their mental makeup, see what their culture is going to be. And then if you like it, hire them. But, like, don't get stuck there in the idea, like, around LSU's last search and hiring Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
They fell in love with the idea that he was the active wins leader in college football at the time. They fell in love with the idea that at Notre Dame he made multiple national titles, even though he lost.
Right.
Like, they fell in love with that idea and, lost sight of the fact that, okay, this guy clearly doesn't create a good culture because people don't like him. He really, identity-wise, he was never able to find his full identity that he had at Notre Dame at LSU, because that was sort of at Notre Dame, rough and tumble, good defense, that style, and rack up a bunch of wins. At LSU, he either had offense or defense going in any particular year, never both. Right. So I'm with you. Find a good ball coach, hire him, and just work it out as you go.
To take your point just one step further, if you look at who you would consider the best coaches in college football right now, I think the top of everybody's list is Kirby Smart. I think number 2 is probably Dan Lanning. Those 2 guys were coordinators.
Yep.
You don't have to go get sitting head coaches. The most notable sitting head coaches that left one head coaching job for another crashed and burned. I'm thinking of Jimbo Fisher and Brian Kelly. Like, it doesn't have to – it doesn't work everywhere. What success here does not translate to more success there. Texas A&M and LSU thought, if he can win at little old Florida State, imagine what he can do with this oil money. And LSU did the same thing. If he can win at Notre Dame, imagine what he can do down here where the governor loves LSU more than anybody in the world. And it just doesn't work that way. Go find the best football coach, because recruiting now is easier than ever. Relationships with mamas don't matter. It's who's got the money. Go fundraise, get the players there, and then provide them with the best football coach that you can get.
Yep, agreed wholeheartedly.
All right, let's talk some games. Lighter slate, but very consequential stuff going on. We've got 6 games over here on the left side of the screen here. We'll start from the top. We'll work our way down to the bottom. You can give me your thoughts on them and what you're thinking. Missouri, who has faltered as of late, is hosting number 3, according to the College Football Playoff Committee's Texas A&M, and Texas A&M's a 6.5-point home road favorite.
All right, now listen, this 6.5-point line, it's stinky, right? Stinks to high heaven.
Yes,
hold your nose. But I think you need to hold your nose and take A&M here in this situation. A&M's undefeated. A&M is number 3 team in the country. I get you're going to Missouri. That could pose some issues. It can be sleepy sometimes there in Columbia, and they've lost a couple of games, and they could sneak up on you. But let's not forget Bo Perbiola's out. Matt Zoller's the backup quarterback's going to be in there. He's very young. He's a freshman. And I think that Mizzou, at this point in the season, don't count out the idea with 2 losses and no wiggle room and what they had on their plate a couple of weeks ago of potentially getting into the college football playoff. Don't lose sight of the fact that Eli Drinkwitz could potentially be the Florida head coach or the Auburn head coach or the LSU, whatever. He could take another job this offseason, and I think that could weigh on those guys. So I think you got to hold your nose, even though Vegas wants you to take it A&M because they may have a beat on Missouri. But hold your nose and take A&M in this situation, I feel.
Yeah, Missouri is one of those teams that scares me to death because of what Ole Miss went through 2 years ago with the whole Lane Kiffin's going to Auburn thing. That whole season spiraled because of it. You took that first loss, and then you ended the season 8-4, I think. That was you ended it with a loss to Mississippi State that only Leach win right before he passed away. The whole season just spiraled, and you have no wiggle room. I can see a situation, third-string quarterback, this just gets ugly. I'm with you on that. I would just take A&M 6.5. I'd probably take A&M 8.5, 9.5. I just think A&M.
Yeah, but that when they set that number so low, you're like, what the hell do these guys know? What am I missing here? But I can't in reasonable minded body take Missouri this weekend.
No, absolutely not. This is the line that stunned me. BYU goes to Texas Tech. Texas Tech's only loss of the season is with a backup quarterback. You're talking about just going and buying players and making a coach look good. Joey McGuire looks really good, and nobody even knew who he was last year. The only difference is he's now got a $10 million defensive line.
Yes. Correct.
And he's a 10.5-point favorite against BYU in what is quite possibly the first of two matchups, as they may see each other again in the Big 12 championship game.
You want to go ahead and make a pick first?
The 10.5 scares me. I always lean Texas Tech on this one because I've kind of been riding them all year, the talent. But 10.5 seems like a big number. Maybe you know something I don't. I'd probably lean BYU plus the 10.5.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, and I'm leaning BYU. Even though I love Texas Tech, I think they're a very good team. They spent enough money, Lord knows, to make themselves a good team. And defensively is the biggest difference to me. Like, they just have some dudes on that side of the ball that they've never had before, whether it was Cliff Kingsbury or, the beginning of Joey McGuire. But I'm taking BYU because Kalani Sitake, I don't think is like the best coach in the world, but he clearly he gives his team an edge every year, and they just know how to win ball games, man. Like in pressure situations, it's not like they've lit the world on fire in the Big 12, right? Had to pull away late against Iowa State, won by 3 against Utah, had to go to 2 OT against Arizona. It wasn't that big of a win against Colorado. They won by 3, right. But like more often than not, they get off the field on third down in pressure situations. And you know what? Number 47, their starting quarterback, Bear Bachmeier, is an awesome player. True freshman. He runs with his hair on fire, which does scare me a little bit because he doesn't really slide. Yeah. And he has gotten better with his arm every week of the season. I mean, he's coming off a performance, again, as a true freshman, 22 for 35, 307, 2 touchdowns against an Iowa State team that was, it's pretty solid. That's been around at the end in the Big 12 every single year. So I think this team knows how to win, knows how to stay in ball games, knows how to fight. I think they can cover 10.5. But I could be wrong. Yeah. We'll see.
Bear Bachmeier being a true freshman, number 47, is absolutely incredible.
Oh, it's electric.
I love weird numbers on quarterbacks. I'm not a traditionalist. I don't get mad anytime I see a quarterback wearing 47. If he can keep it in his pants, being a true freshman starter at BYU, he could break like the Taysom Hill. I feel like he's been here 9 years record at BYU.
And I thought I would hate the 47. Then I saw how he played, and I go, that's so fitting,
you
actually.
You got to earn it. That's for sure.
But I saw him run for the first time downhill and truck a guy, and I'm like, that makes so much sense. This guy looks like an H-back out there.
The only one that was near and dear to my heart was Shea Patterson, wore 20 at Ole Miss. And when he first came in, everybody knows how it ended. It was awful. When he first came in, he came in on the road against Texas A&M and led a comeback to win it. And I thought he was going to light Oxford on fire, and he wore 20. He then showed to be not worth. He should have just worn.
Yeah,
2,
I'm sorry.
like every other quarterback, and not make this about yourself.
I'm sorry that's the one that's near and dear to your heart, because that was that did not turn out well.
I was part of the problem when he committed. It shut down the stream. He live streamed his commitment in high school in Louisiana, and it just kind of shut down. And I was part of the problem. I was all in on Shea Patterson. And it turns out he just wasn't built for it. It wasn't the arm. It was the head. It wasn't built for it. If you want to talk about anarchy, if you're a fan of chaos, the way that I'm a fan of just freaking chaos, LSU is a 9.5-point underdog in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and they are in week 1 of an interim, which if you want to play against – you don't want to play against week 1 of an interim. You want to play against week 2 of an interim. But Frank Harris is Mr. LSU and can get this team rallied behind him for at least a week in Tuscaloosa. Do you think things get a little hairy?
All right. We may agree on every pick. I don't know exactly what your pick's going to be, but I think you set it up a little bit. I got to be honest with you. I know they're going to Tuscaloosa. But Frank Wilson has those dudes. I think they're gonna fight.
I think I said Frank Harris, but yeah.
Yeah. Frank Wilson. I think they're gonna fight. I think they still lose the ball game, but I think this could be a 7-point game in Alabama's favor at home. I like LSU plus 9.5. I just think this team is still talented. They still have the dudes. They just need somebody to pour some belief into them. You know what I mean? Because when Brian Kelly was fired, we started to learn, like, he's just he's an asshole.
He's a tyrant. Yeah.
He's the worst. So I think Frank Wilson can breathe a little bit of belief into these guys, and I think they keep it close, although I don't think they win.
Yeah, I'm so torn on this. As an Ole Miss fan, there's few things that I love more than just watching LSU crash and burn. Like, I resent the fact that here we are 70 years later, and I still have to watch Billy Cannon return a punt on Halloween night from 1947 or whatever that was. Like, I hate LSU. The older generation of Ole Miss fans hate LSU worse than they hate Mississippi State. Dan Mullen and Hugh Freeze kind of flipped that for younger fans. But I truly hate LSU just as much, just probably like one scotch less than I hate Mississippi State. But I do believe in Frank Wilson's ability to speak to those kids and rally them. And you were going to get the best effort that you've seen from LSU after the Ole Miss game and they took their first loss and the wheels started falling off. Like, they're going to have a little bit of swagger. I ultimately think I can't bet against Alabama. I think that Ty Simpson is the best quarterback in college football.
Probably my Heisman right now, if I'm being real with you.
I think he is the Heisman by default right now, and it's not a sexy Heisman, and that's the reason why nobody's wanting to just crown him yet. They want something a little bit, sparklier to come out.
They may not get it, though, You're
probably not going to get it. I think he's the best quarterback in the country. I'm just gonna go with the favorite, who I think's the best quarterback and the best team in the SEC right now. So, kind of talk on that one. You got another DJ Durkin interim head coach special going on the road to Vanderbilt, who just lost by 4 rather to Texas on the road last week, but it wasn't that close. I mean, it was a hair on fire fourth quarter for Diego Pavia and Clark Lee and the Commodores to make that game respectable in Austin last week. They are going to host Auburn and interim head coach DJ Durkin. What are your thoughts on this one? I'll let you start.
I think it's since it's in Nashville, I think it's a stupid line. I think Vanderbilt's gonna win by a touchdown. Like I have no doubt in my mind about that. Auburn, new coach, interim, offense stinks, and I think like the reason the line's this way with a 7-2 number 15 in the country Vandy is because they still look at the logo and the emblem on their home.
They're banking on you to do the same.
Yes, and I've learned my lesson. Vanderbilt's a good football team. Like I when I compare them to Auburn from a talent perspective, Auburn probably has a little more talent on the defensive side of the ball. It's a really good defense, but I think all in all, top to bottom, I think Vanderbilt's a more talented roster right this second, and they're better coached and they have more belief. So I think Vanderbilt covers minus a 6.5. I think that's not enough points. If you're going to take the Auburn side, like I think you would probably need somewhere around 9.5, 10.5.
So the reason why, in my opinion, this is not going to be the interim job that I think that the LSU gig is because the defense was never a problem with Auburn.
Yeah.
DJ Durkin is an incredibly good defensive coordinator. He was at Ole Miss for a time there, and I thought he was absolutely incredible under Lane. In his first 2 years there, he was an incredible defensive coordinator. The defense has never been a problem. And so you're going and giving him the head reins. But then Derek Nix is the play caller. And I don't know what Derek Nix has turned into. He's always been Hugh's go-to guy. He was at Ole Miss forever. And he's just kind of always just hang on Hugh's coattail. And he was the offensive coordinator despite Hugh not getting out of the way. So I don't really know what to expect, but what I do know is that Jackson Arnold sucks. And
Yes.
I don't think that firing Hugh Freeze makes Jackson Arnold good. So yeah, I'm all in on Vandy there. Vandy is not a team that, despite picking up their second loss of the year, that's going to throw in the towel like Missouri might. I have so much faith in just the intestinal fortitude of Diego Pavia and Clark Lee that team is not going to give up the rope here.
Yeah, and I saw
gonna...
Vandy fans last week. This made me laugh. I saw Vandy fans, after taking a loss, second loss of the year, and it's harder to make the college football playoff if you have two losses. We know that, and the third loss could be on the way. We get that. I saw Vandy fans like so much still to play out. So much still to play for. These guys are going to work their ass off. And I go, even if they get a third loss and are removed from college football playoff contention, there's still so much to play for at Vandy. Yeah. 8 wins, 9 wins is historic for them. Like it does make you realize how quickly, the expectations can change for a place.
Yeah.
Vandy has a 6-6 year, gets to a bowl game. Next year they start what was it, 6-0 or whatever it was, and everybody's thinking college football playoff. They lose 2 games, and everyone still has to convince themselves to be engaged. How are you not engaged with this Vanderbilt football team? You should always be engaged with this Vanderbilt football team.
I don't want to naysay you, really, but Vandy does still have everything in front of it. I do think that 10-2 SEC team will make the college football playoff.
But it makes me laugh because it's like even if they lost a third game, you still have 9 wins to get. You still have 8 wins.
Don't be upset if you go 9-3. I see
exactly. Like Vanderbilt's expectation with how they started became college football playoff or bust. The fans, are you out of your mind? Come on.
The way they could end their season on Thanksgiving, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, with a road win against Tennessee, and finish at 10-2, like put them in.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
agreed.
As long as it's not over Ole Miss. So, all right. Here's the floor for you. Tulane, coached by what I think should be the number 1 pick at most every college, who has a vacant opening right now. John Sumrall, I totally believe in him. Again, former Ole Miss assistant.
Same.
I think that he is arguably the best coaching prospect out there. He's got Tulane coming to Memphis. This one is a big one. This one is an absolute big one.
Yeah, I'm taking the Tigers. They are sitting here right this second at 8-1 and 8-1 against the spread, so that helps. They have played really well at home. They have the win against Arkansas, the win against South Florida at home. They're undefeated at home. They have a crazy home winning streak, so I like that part of it. And here's the other part of it. When you just sort of look into the matchup, Tulane's defense isn't that great. They can't stop the run. They give up 244 yards passing per game. I think Memphis can expose them in several different ways offensively. And then defensively, Memphis is kind of up and down. But, Tulane's offense is kind of predictable with Jake Retzloff. They're going to try to run the ball with him. And if you neutralize him running the ball and make him beat you from the pocket, he's not been able to do that so far this year. He just has not been throwing the ball that well. So I think if Memphis's defense is able to stop the run, try to tell Jake Retzloff to beat him from the pocket, I think they'll win this game relatively handily. Like you'll be comfortable by the end of the game in the fourth quarter. I think they could win by a couple of scores. But I really like Memphis minus the 3.5 tonight.
Yeah, the 2 losses for Tulane were really ugly losses. They were on the road in Oxford, which Ole Miss turned out to be pretty good. At the time, we were kind of uncertain Ole Miss was going to be that good. But then the road loss to UTSA.
Got their ass
kicked. You just got absolutely worked. That was a loss.
And then we watched UTSA last night against South Florida get pummeled.
And to me, that loss screamed uncertainty about the future.
That's what I was thinking too. I really think that the John Sumrall unknown is probably hanging over this team because he will get a job this cycle. I feel pretty confident.
Unlike, I thought he was going to get a job from Troy, not have to go to Tulane. I thought he was going to get a big boy job last year. Unlike some of the other openings like Ole Miss or Auburn or Florida, you can be happy there. The money's there. If you're looking at Tulane, you start thinking like, oh, if I'm really good here, I can think of a payday or a big pay bump next year. Let's stay healthy. Let's monitor this situation.
Yep. I'm with you. Who you got?
I'm going Memphis, and this strictly just because I want this. I want this for you guys. I want this for our network, for Memphis to be in the playoff, and I think this should be considered like a play-in game.
Yeah,
I think for the American Conference, it's not the end-all be-all, but it is a disqualifier, I believe. For the
yes, it's definitely a loser go home type thing, for sure.
And so, lastly, I put this last just because out of muscle memory, and I'm typically joined by a Mississippi State fan as my co-host. Georgia, who only plays close games, is a 9.5-point favorite in Starkville. Mississippi State coming off of their first SEC win in over 2 years after beating the Razorbacks. So, you got any thoughts on this?
You ready for this? Georgia minus 9.5, and I don't even think it'll be that close. I think we've been waiting for Georgia to get that sort of spot into that spot where, okay, we think the game may be closer than expected, but they run away with it. And I think there's a skill to what they've been doing, being able to pull games out in the fourth quarter and win.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this feels like a get right game. And I also, gonna sound funny, I like the idea of Mississippi State getting their first SEC win in forever, because now they're going to be riding high. They're going to have their chest out. They're going to be all confident. Then they're going to look on the other side and they're going to see Georgia's players and they're going to say, oh, shit. Okay. All right. How are we going to handle this today? So I just think Georgia's catching them in a good spot. I think Georgia goes on the road with the cowbells ringing and handles business really, really easily. That's my opinion.
This isn't a great matchup for Mississippi State, in my opinion, because Mississippi State cannot stop the run, and Georgia just lined up against Ole Miss, which has turned out to be a pretty good run defense, and just ran it right down our throats. They are capable and able to do that, and so I think it's a bad matchup. For me, I do wonder. It's a litmus test, I think, for Georgia. If Georgia goes to Starkville and struggles, I'm going to put it more on Georgia than I am going to be Mississippi State, because it is an absolute skill and it's a trait and it's a learned behavior to be able to win these games. That's championship mentality that Georgia's doing. But at some point you've got to wonder if they've just got the horses to be able to blow somebody out. And if you're going to compete for a championship, you should have the horses to blow somebody out.
Yep.
And if you don't do that on the road in Starkville this Saturday, I wonder if you are capable of being
very
good
true
enough.
Yeah, and my guy Mike Bobo, their OC, come on, man. I need better out of you. I'm tired of these now routes to the outside, these bubble screens, these tunnel screens. Gunnar Stockton has shown the ability to throw the ball downfield. You have some better wide receivers than you've had in the past. The offensive line is rounding into form, as we saw against Ole Miss. Like, you have some things, and you have good tight ends that he always forgets about. Oscar Delp is a living, breathing human being. You know what I mean?
Still
like,
alive. You can't confirm that?
Like, Mike Bobo, to me, I know there's some people that will always champion him and give him his credit for what he's done in the past. He's just been – he lacks inventiveness offensively for that Georgia team, and I think that's been a pretty big thing holding them back. But obviously, it's kind of weird to talk about this after what was a 43-35 win against Ole Miss, where they put up a lot of points. But, like, I think more often than not, you just see a lack of inventiveness on the offensive side of the ball. Hopefully they get out of that this week.
Yeah. When it comes to just my own peace of mind, I would like for Mississippi State to beat Georgia or Missouri in the next 2 weeks. So Ole Miss isn't traveling to Starkville with Mississippi State trying to get bowl eligible against Ole Miss trying to get into the playoffs. Like, to me, that's just a freaking nightmare scenario. Like, I can't handle that. I will not be able to sleep. And there's a bye week for both teams going into the Egg Bowl, which is just not good for the mental health of the state of Mississippi, a state that struggles with mental health as a baseline. So I really need Mississippi State to win one of these. I don't think it's going to be Georgia. I think that Georgia's going to need to flex, and so I would probably – I don't know, man. I don't know. I truly have no idea. I have so much respect for Mississippi State right now, too, because they are playing these games close. And I thought that the dam would have to break one way or the other. They're either going to have to win one or they're going to have to quit. And they won one. And so now I just think you've kind of lit a fire.
Confidence sky high in the old Bulldogs, huh? Sky high.
Give me the Bulldogs. Final answer.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
So I can't lose. I cannot lose if I take the Bulldogs here. So, Gabe, I appreciate you, brother.
Man, it's great stuff. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I would love to do this again very, very soon. So
Yeah,
I appreciate you joining
we
us.
need to do it out at the brewery here soon.
Yeah. We both missed the Wing Festival, which I think was going to end up being one of the major regrets in my life. is missing the 901 Wing Festival at Grind City Brewing Company last week.
Yeah, it's tough. Tough
So,
scene.
anyways, you live and you learn. We're going to end this with one final segment. It's a very short segment. I'll see if I can find the thing here. I can't. So we'll just talk about it. What are you looking forward to this weekend?
What am I looking forward to? I am looking forward to watching Memphis get a dub tonight. I am looking forward to hopefully the Grizzlies getting back on track. And then, just generally, I like Saturday and Sunday for my college football and my NFL. So, nothing out of the ordinary for me. What about you?
Have you figured out how to most easily stream multiple college football games since YouTube TV is not an option?
I don't have YouTube TV. I have the old Xfinity, so it's a good
at
time
you.
to have that. Although I do I don't agree with Pat McAfee on everything, but I do love him going after his colleagues. Like, don't put that stupid ass keepmynetworks.com link up when ESPN's clearly, giving YouTube TV the runaround and trying to get more money out of them. I do appreciate the consumer coming first for him, at least.
I almost subscribed to his podcast after seeing him say that. So
yeah.
I'm like I said, I'm Mr. Consumer here. It is just an absolute atrocity that it gets to this point because they are not nobody that's making these negotiations, playing hardball here is having any hard time feeding their families. So just for once, let the deciding factor be what's easiest. And
brother, I'm making rice-a-roni and hamburger helper on my stove. Yeah. Okay, help me out.
I've got my 5th kid on the way. We are ramen noodle or die here. So yeah, for the love of God, just
figure it out.
Affordable. It's not supposed to be harder to consume and more expensive. It's one or the other.
Yes.
So, anyways, I'm looking forward to not having to stress about Ole Miss football. They're playing the Citadel. And I'm also looking forward to Saturday. I got a text from a friend, heads up, that the Grizzlies had tweeted out something, and it said, father-daughter night at the FedEx Forum.
Oh, okay.
First 50 people to purchase tickets gets like a girl dad hat, Memphis Grizzlies hat, and their daughters get one. So I snatched up tickets real quick, thanks to Rusty. He gave me hooked me up with 2 tickets. I went and bought one more, and I'm going to take my 3-year-old, my 10-year-old to the Grizzlies game Saturday, and it's at 5:00, which is nice. And we're playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, so if we get blown out, I'm not going to feel bad about leaving early.
Well, yeah, and you got you are watching the defending champs.
I hate that.
That's there. I don't like them either, but they are the defending
with every fiber of my being. Nothing would make me like. I don't think my parenting will be taken to the test if this is a close game and it comes down to it, and my 3-year-old just wants to go home. I will have to give her the stern talking to that my dad gave me when I was a kid sitting in Vaught Hemingway Stadium. Like, buddy, we're at a football game. You're just going to have to suck it up and enjoy yourself right here in that chair.
That was a good that was a lesson for you.
It was, and you know what? It stuck. It took. So
yep.
maybe my 3-year-old will be the first one that actually lives and dies with sports like I do. We'll see.
Okay. Well, that does sound fun. That does sound fun.
So, appreciate you, Gabe. Appreciate everybody tuning in here on Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Before you leave, please give us a thumbs up, like the stream here. Check out Gabe's show as well. You're on 92.9, right?
92.9 ESPN, Monday through Friday, 4 to 7 p.m.
There you go. So that does not interfere with anything on Bluff City Media's network. There's no excuse for anybody not to listen to Gabe Kuhn on ESPN, 929 ESPN.
Damn right.
Sound good?
Damn right.
All right. Everybody have a good weekend. I'll be back with you on Monday.
Thank you for listening to the $2 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. We'll see you back here next time.